Hello everyone and welcome to the digitalshack.net. On this tutorial we're going to cover the basics of web page design. Keep in mind that web page design is very different from web development. And you're probably wondering, well, what's the difference? See, on web development, it involves the creation of the backend or the server end, which is what handles the commands that you submit from the web page. So for instance, if we take a look at this Google website, the minute I type something here and press enter, that's already sending to the Google server a request for finding what I just typed. And as you can see, a bunch of stuff came up. So that's the server end. But we're not going to cover that in this tutorial. We're only going to focus on the web page, which is what you see here on the browser. And that's what we're going to learn to develop. Keep in mind that a web page is broken down into three parts, which is the head, the body, and the footer. So every time you remember a web page, remember a human being. You have the head, you have the body, and you have the footers. On the head is where you would place all the scripts, all your styling. On the body is where you place all the text, everything that we see here. So for instance, images, text, headers, so let's say for example titles, bold letters. On the footer is where you would place something like, for example, in this case, Google chose to use a footer bar, which is similar to a navigation bar. Going back to the script, think of it as a behavior that tells the website to act a certain way, and it looks at that script, the text that you clicked, and it'll do something based on the behavior. Style or styling, also known as CSS, Cascaded Styling Sheet, is pretty much what tells the web page how to decorate the letters, how to size the boxes, the borders, should there or should there be no borders on certain areas of the actual body. And we'll get into details on another tutorial for that. So for now, we're just going to deal with HTML code. So let's get started. I'm going to use something called Notepad++, which is absolutely free, and I recommend it, especially if you're just playing around, getting started, or want to tinker with HTML. It's a free open source application, and I'll make sure that I include the link once I finish with this tutorial. It's just like Notepad, except that it allows you to format in specific coding. In our case, we want to focus on HTML, so we go into language, under the H, and there we go. I already have it set up. Great. The one thing you have to learn about HTML is that whatever you start, you have to close with the same thing, but as you'll notice, it has a little dash. This lets the browser know that this is the end of that section of code. On the head, we're not going to really put anything. We're just going to put it there because I want you to get familiar with seeing it. What we're going to work on the most is going to be the body. There we go. And yes, there are tools that are more advanced, has more capabilities, already pre-builds this for you, and you probably won't even have to code everything. But the whole point of this is to show you the basics, the fundamental of HTML. It's very important because while these tools can do most of the dirty work for you, which is the coding, there are certain things that you may need to manually tweak. So for that reason, I'd rather show you just the HTML coding, the tags, elements, get you familiar there. So now that we have the head and the body, within the body, I'm going to create a header. It's going to be, let's say, H1. You can use H1. And let's say, hello world. It's a very common word when it comes to coding. And let's create a paragraph here. This is so as you can see, I've added right now some stuff. This, how is it common with? I've added a header and I've added some text. Here, this would be considered a paragraph. So if I type anything under this and outside of this tag, it will push it down an extra line. And I'm going to show you. Let's say I type in, this is line 2. Okay. Now if I was to save this, and I'm going to put this in a folder that I chose, that's another thing I'll recommend. It's always good to have a specific workspace, especially if you're going to be dealing with design projects, because that way you have everything in one place and you know where it is. Alright, so for the matter of this page, or this sample page, I'm going to name it index.html. Save, and we're going to go into that, and here we are. Now if I open this, you'll notice Hello World is in big bold letters, and that's because it's a header, or a header tag. And then here is a paragraph, which is in the P tags. And as I said, because I didn't put this within that P, now it's pushing it down as a new paragraph, a new line. It's going to treat it as a separate section of text. If I wanted this to come up within here, then I would have to take this text, let's cut it out of here, we're going to make a space, paste, and now we're going to save it. And if we go back to the browser and refresh, there we go. Now it's all one part of the text. So this is pretty much what I want to cover. Everything within the body is what you're going to see within the page. Whatever you put in here is going to be completely separate and hidden. If you go to this website, w3schools.com, not only do they have about HTML, which is what you're learning right now, but they also have CSS, and they have a bunch of other tutorials that you might be interested in. I recommend though try to stay basic, which is the HTML. Once you feel comfortable with HTML, then explore CSS. And then finally, you can start playing around with other type of coding for web design. For this tutorial, however, we're going to stick to HTML. So let's click Learn HTML. And the reason I brought you here is because this site, aside of showing you pretty much everything you absolutely need to know about HTML, in certain areas, it also allows you to play. Like for example, right here. See this example? I can click here and I can try it myself. So I automatically, by clicking run, whatever change I make here, I'll see it automatically here. So if you don't want to download that Notepad++, hey, that's fine. You can come to this page and you can do exactly the same thing here. I hope this quick rundown tutorial was helpful, at least to give you an idea of what HTML is like. I do intend to write more tutorials, but I think we'll stop it here because I don't want to overwhelm you. On the next tutorial, I'll get more in depth with more details on HTML, more tags. For now, though, I highly recommend you to look into this page that I'm showing you. I personally come to this page a lot, especially when there are certain tags that I'm not very familiar with, or if I want to see certain other things. So yeah, I highly recommend this page. So thank you for watching, and subscribe to receive notifications when the next video is up. And if you have any questions about this video, feel free to comment in the bottom and I'll gladly get back to you. Thank you.